surprise, I am back in the same outfit, but you know what? I'm not crying. I like this outfit. I love this jacket. It goes with so much. And I'm doing Fairest, which I gotta say, if you didn't see my review or maybe my rant about winter, this is my favorite book of the series. It's technically not even part of the series. The series is Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, Winter. This is just a little novella that gives us a sneak peek into Levana. And yes, when I say it's not part of the series, it's not because it doesn't do anything towards that plot. It has nothing to do with what they're trying to achieve. It just goes to give us some character development. And as I said, it was like a winter rant. And by that point, I was looking forward to Fairest because it was bearable only because I knew eventually I would get background on Levana. I would know what motivates her. I would know more about Winter's dad. And I wish we'd gotten more of this background throughout those 4 books, just because it really helps in how we feel towards characters. Like, a bad guy can't be bad just because you say they're bad. There's always a mitigating factor. And so Fairest was something I was looking forward to. I was so ready for winter to end just so that I could get to this. And it didn't disappoint. Like, with winter, I'd hoped it would be better than it really was, and it wasn't. With this one, it was better than I remembered. Fairest is Levana's point of view. It shows her family life with Channery, who is Cinder / Princess Celine's mother. Itchy. It also gives us a big look at Everett, who is Winter's dad. And it gives us this idea of Levana's mental descent. And for me at least, I really liked Levana. I like her so much more knowing how she got where she got. There are so many points in Fairest where I was like, oh my gosh, Levana, just get it through your head. Everett doesn't love you. Like, it's not gonna happen. But because she was so unloved growing up, I could see why she would delude herself into thinking that there was more between them than really was. But I'm ahead of myself. Fairest begins with Levana waking up from a nightmare in which she has been set on fire. And if you read those books, you'll know that her glamour was hiding some horrible disfigurements. And it's because her sister, Channery, set her on fire when she was a child. This is something I still struggle with because I struggle with the whole glamour thing. But she, obviously, to hide her disfigurement, is always glamoring herself. Yet everybody still calls her the ugly princess versus Channery. And I'm like, because she was really, really young when it happened. So I don't know why the rumors are still circulating. I guess it's because it's a very vapid society. So they're just going to hold on to that. But so she has a very low self-esteem. And the only person who shows her love is Winter's dad, Everett. And he is a good 10 years older than her. Channery is about 8 years older than her. And so we open up with her waking up from this nightmare. But it's also the day that they are burying their parents because a shell had lost his mind and come and murdered them and blah, 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 blah. But it's not a loving family. You know, she doesn't really care that her parents are dead. She actually kind of prefers that they're not there. But it also means that Channery is now queen. But Channery, she doesn't care about the affairs of state. She doesn't care about being a good queen, a good ruler. She just wants to be known as the most desired queen ever to sit on the throne in Luna. With that, she's able to abuse Levana verbally, emotionally, mentally, not necessarily physically, but at this funeral, when all these people are giving their condolences, Everett steps up, and Levana is so excited because she's had a crush on him for like a while. And then he pulls his very pregnant wife forward, and thus begins Levana's obsession with Solstice. What is most intriguing about the relationship is in this society, monogamy is very, very rare. And so Levana had known he'd gotten married, but it didn't mean anything to her because mistresses are a dime a dozen. But then when she realizes he actually does love his wife, she gets obsessed. Only to find out that Solstice isn't well. I do wish we'd gotten more on that. Again, it felt like something that Meyer threw out there just to have a reason for Solstice to end up dying. Solstice dies in childbirth. Levana, she harbors these grand ideas about Everett coming to her chamber and her comforting him and then beginning this love affair. And what actually happens is when he finally does show up, it's to bring her something that Solstice had made, because Solstice was a really talented seamstress. And Levana glamours him into basically a romance. However, the whole glamour thing just really bothers me. But so it's one of those things where when he's away from her, he's in his right mind, and then when he's with her, he is whatever she wants him to feel. And so he's incredibly confused, and he's constantly saying, look, we gotta stop doing this. I don't understand what's going on. Because what she also does is she takes on the appearance of Solstice, which is really, really messed up. But by this point in the novel, Levana, she's become less innocent and more manipulative. Like, this is what she wants. This is what she believes she deserves. And his small tokens of friendliness give her the wrong impression. And then she eventually learns all along he was nice to her. Well, one, he recognized she needed a friend. Two, it was Solstice. Solstice was one who was like, give her a birthday gift. Solstice had let him know that this gift that he ultimately brought her had been something that Levana had admired. So it was like, Solstice was behind all of this, which ultimately angers Levana to the point of no return. But yes, she's incredibly manipulative of him. And then eventually she is able to get him to marry her. And she has this family fantasy in which she'll be Winter's mother and they'll live happily ever after. And then she realizes she doesn't actually like Winter. What she wants more is her own child, which never happens. But then Channery gets pregnant, although we never know who the father of that is because Channery is extremely promiscuous. And then a question that had circulated throughout the entire Lunar Chronicles series was, who killed Channery? And then did Levana try to kill Princess Celine? She didn't actually kill Channery. Channery died from, I can't pronounce it, but basically like there's this ore that they mine, and Levana's theory is that Channery was having an affair with some kind of miner, so she would sneak down there, and she eventually developed this regolith poisoning that killed her. And Levana becomes Queen Regent until Celine is 13 and blah, 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 blah. But then the more that Levana is able to sit on the throne, the more she wants the throne, which is when, yes, she plots to kill Celine, and as we know, it's unsuccessful. Her marriage to Everett is never smooth. All he wants from her is honesty, but she's too afraid to even let him see what she really looks like. She's afraid of his judgment when we all realize that's really all he would need from her is just to see her, to have her let her guard down so that he can truly get to know her. So I was actually kind of confused. I thought that Winter had been in the nursery with Celine when it was set on fire, and actually wasn't. But we all know my feelings about Winter, so I kind of actually wish she had been in the nursery, but if she had been, we wouldn't have had her book. But I was like, yet again, Winter is this all-perfect person who can do no wrong, and she's super annoying, even as a toddler. So their marriage is not smooth sailing, and eventually Everett, they have a come-to-Jesus moment where he's like, I've never loved you. maybe if you'd given me a chance, maybe if you hadn't continued to wear glamour and lie to me our entire marriage, like if you'd opened up to me at some point, we could have had something, but we're not. And then this prompts Levana to have him murdered. She murders the guy that she had enlisted to murder him, and there we are. Like, that's the end. Loved her character development. Her character arc in this went from someone you felt really, really bad for to the person we all love to hate. Yet at the same time, now you know where she came from. You understand it. Or at least I do. I understand it, and I'm kind of okay. Because even though I know she was wrong in the way she was manipulating Everett, all she wanted was for someone to love her. And he refused to love her. Not that he was wrong for it, but it just wasn't gonna happen. And then I really enjoyed, we got a lot of introductions to things, like we finally got a little bit of backstory on the history between Luna and Earth. We got to see Dr. Erland, or not see him, but we got to kind of see of him. We got to hear about him and his wife having the kid and this and the other. We got to see the early stages of the letumosis trials in getting the shells in on it to create an antidote. We got early looks at this wolf army. And so I really enjoyed that. That is what I love about a prequel or a sequel, or even just a little novella, where we get small insights into the things that we are already familiar with, to just round them out a little bit, to kind of figure out why they started, how they started, who was involved. And I quite enjoyed Channery as well. I guess I'm just a terrible person. But I feel like for Meyer in particular, her strongest characters were her bad guys, and Channery was the ultimate bad guy. I don't know exactly why she was so evil, except that they just had terrible parents. And so maybe we can get a little novella about Channery. But I thought it was most interesting how when she finally got pregnant, she was the exact opposite kind of a person. She loved her child. She was so excited about having a child. And then when Celine was born, she didn't send her off with a wet nurse. She carried her around. She let her stay in her chambers. And it was really great to see how something did matter to her, even though it completely confused Levana. And she still wasn't that great of a person, but yeah, she may have come from bad stock, and Celine may have come from bad stock, but she did have a mother that loved her, which is in direct contrast to, as a cyborg, she is left with a stepmother who hates her. That's about it for Fairest. This is probably the shortest review ever, but then again, it's the shortest book that I have read thus far, and I totally recommend Fairest. I would say Fairest, Crest, Cinder, Scarlet, Winter. Winter, though, all you gotta know is that Cinder succeeds. Everything else is nonsense. Anywho, that is it for Fairest. That is it for the Lunar Chronicles. Tell me how I did. Oh my gosh, I'm in for it next week because now I have to read the Just One Day series by Gail Foreman. February is a busy month for me, but I do it to myself. Anyways, I will see you next week, and I hope you have a great intervening couple of days. Bye! Don't forget, last day to enter the drawing, to enter the giveaway for this paperback copy of Cinder. Just like, subscribe, comment, do all of those really fun things that get you in the running. Good luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor.